Hello! This will be, this video will be a little series, kind of a behind the scenes exploration between me and Jacob, where we're trying to figure out, I always call it the high story. The story about the Titans, the Aeon, the creation of the world, certain characters and their motivations and all that. I thought it'd be interesting to have just cryptically, of course, excerpts, not even excerpts, the entire conversation, and I'll do it in a 3-part series, and it's just going to be, here's us trying to discuss this stuff and just work it out. Kind of give you behind the scenes, let you in a little bit more when it comes to all what's going on in the book and all that stuff. So bear in mind, there's no visual, it's just audio. So turn the damn phone off and just listen. It'll help. No, but it's the idea behind this is to show the creation of this book and show us trying to problem solve our way through story elements. And what we're going to be discussing here is actually things that happened before the book. So if you think of Lord of the Rings, if I'm writing the story of Frodo and all that stuff, this is us trying to figure out who Sauron is and how the ring works and what's the story of Manwë and all that shit and who's, Iluvatar and, you know what I mean, the before shit. That's what we're doing. We're basically talking about our version of the Silmarillion. That's the best example I can fucking give you. Now, if you don't understand a lot of it, I think a good reference video should be, what is the Forgotten Chronicle? Go back to that. That's me talking in the order. And if you pay attention in those spots, like a good researcher, you'll go back to this and you'll start to realize, okay, I think I know who this Aeek Baeovak is. I think I know who this guy is and that guy. Anyway, a little behind the scenes of how this all works.
And then there's, so if this is an Aeon,
Okay.
if this is an Aeon, this is the Forgotten King.
Okay.
And it's almost like in his creation, when he made mankind, it's very much reflected that he learned something from the Titans. He was trying to make something that wouldn't fizzle out like you're seeing with everything else there.
Well, see, now the issue when it comes to the realm of life is once you pass through this kind of barrier and come into the realm of life, you bring with you what you are and everything that you've ever thought. But you are opened up into this realm that will always, no matter who you are, bring out the worst in you. That's just what it does. It will bring out the greed. It will bring out the bad things. It will bring out also the reason that I killed that guy is because I love that chick. It will bring out things for righteousness as well. But the problem is there's like this barrier and mankind will always crumble underneath that. But the gods, we'll call them the gods because that's what they would be to everyone else. They also, once they pass through it, there's a problem with the realm of life. Now the Aeon, the Titans, any other being that will ever pass through, they don't need to understand over here. Because they're in the circle, all's in its right place. The realm of life is outside of the circle. So when you go there, your brain is with like anxiety. It says, I need to make sense of this. The reason that I need to make sense of it is, I don't know. That's why the Titans and now the Aeon said, we need to make forms. Forms matter here because we need to understand.
These things floating around need to be organized into a structure.
Yeah.
So that they can carry out, kind of like, they're like spirits, but they're not able to do what spirits do. So let's give them that ability, but in that they accidentally made something.
We need tangible, solid ground. We just need to see visually. We need to live in bodies, subjective living, because of God is within us all, and each one of us gives a subjective viewpoint to understand the true beauty of everything, right? It's something like that, too. We need to make this mass consciousness within these groups of people. That's why the Forgotten King, Dulag, he made man in an image, but it doesn't mean necessarily it was within his own image. It was within the image that needed this understanding, in some sense of the word.
Now this is where I think maybe the same, what happened to the Forgotten King very likely is what also happened to the Stone Knights, who were left hanging around doing, seemingly acting outside of the prerogative they were given.
Yeah.
Is clearly, when they made this physical place, nobody understood the implications of these physical objects showing up. And none of it mattered. They were just rocks until one of the Titans made,
Yeah.
well, now there's a problem. So what must have happened on this rock where life happened because of the Titans as a freak accident, and then now these other spirits are descending and having their own war while creating things to make that war finalize or complete, is during that process, they became more a part of that rock than they ever were going to be a part of the realm of creation.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
And in that, they changed from, you know how Dragon Age spirits embody virtues and stuff?
Yeah.
And then how Justice joined with Anders and became his vengeance?
Yeah.
Same thing. They became a part of that rock and a part of their creations, and it changed them. The Aeons went from being justful beings of pure light to also being hateful.
Yeah. Well, the problem that the Aeon and the Titans have, the Men of Stone don't have until recently. When they went to the realm of life, remember when I said that the Keepers were an understanding of duality? They were an understanding of, hey, sometimes you got to just kill that thing. Or sometimes you got to let a man like Hitler run through Europe so we can have an understanding after. Sorry, it just has to happen. That's the Titans. It's a belief. It's called duality. You got to have good, you got to have bad, yin-yang, Confucianism and all that. So I believe in that. So the problem is you have that in the realm of circle. That's the reason that they wear the masks and they have the spirits, the synthetic consciousness to understand duality. Now, it's not always going to work. The transceiver is going to fail eventually. So the point is they're supposed to bring duality into the realm of life. That's why they're not allowed to directly interfere. They have to create a duality. Because in the realm of life, they're stuck in that stubborn good and evil. That's why there's a problem in life. No one understands, guys, maybe they're okay over there. No, they're bad and they got to die. That's a problem with life. That's why there was wars. That's why the Aeon killed the Titans. Why? Couldn't you just live side by side with them? No, because they got to die.
And
that's the problem.
This is where some of the Men of Stone may have centered in, because obviously the Forgotten King is not centric to this cosmic conflict.
Yeah.
He's seemingly irrelevant to it.
Yeah.
But to certain Stone Knights, he's the focus of the story, just like he is in ours, because whatever these Men of Stone are trying to bring balance, and then they see this Aeon who conflicted with the Titans, and who created just like the other Aeons did. But then they see what he created. And in his creation, there isn't so much hate. Hate can happen. But they're not hateful at their core. They're not like hyenas, where they just don't give a fuck what pain you feel, and they're almost, or like dolphins.
Yeah.
Dolphins are just hateful creatures. They just cause pain because they think it's funny. These things don't. What are these things? What is their flaws? Well, first and foremost, pride and fear. The pride and fear that clearly existed in the Forgotten King, but also they're compassionate. They're not motivated by, when you look at Dubois, those guys are very clearly, I mean, we kind of picture them as Napoleonic in the sense
Frenchmen,
of they think they're better. Yeah. They are the I am superior, this should be mine mindset.
Very Aryan.
Exactly. That clearly began tainting the Aeons as they spent more time on the rock. Whereas when you look at the Valanders, who were made by the Titans...
No, they were made by another Aeon.
Okay.
Aeek Baeovak, the Slop King.
Okay. He's different too. He's kind of a good guy too on his own.
Subjectively, yes.
Subjectively. But he's persistent, and that makes sense with the Valanders.
He also is actually not great, because he's got his own game. He wants to replace the Forgotten King because he's being tortured because he's in this realm. He was a good guy. He does have sympathy for mankind, but he actually wants to destroy the Forgotten King who betrayed him so he can go into the realm of creation because he's going mad just in our realm. He actually wants revenge. But in a way, like, he's a big bad god, but at the same time, if you walk up to him, he's like, yeah, you can walk through my lands.
Right.
You know what I mean? But in the reality, I also want to kill your god. So I'm just saying.
We'll deal with that when it comes.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
When you look at the Anaku, who were also made by the Titans, when you look at the way they function, what's clearly their darkness? Well, they just kind of slink away. Mm-hmm. They're if the Aeons embody hate, and pride. The Titans embody fear and apathy.
Yeah.
So the Anaku range anywhere from we're going to kill everything that crosses this line in our forest, no matter how helpless it is, to we're going to completely avoid the world altogether and live hermit life so it can't hurt us anymore. And then
they got to protect the world because that's their mother.
Right.
Remember, so Mother Gaia, just how natives are. How they if they can take care of this, that is their everything. That's why they will have issues with mankind. Not only because mankind stole the Dume, which is like their life force, because of the Forgotten King and all that shit. That's the only reason you'll see Anaku creating the Serpentine Order and saying, we're going to correct this. Mm-hmm. I read it in that thing. They all got together, all the high, except for the ones in the south, they didn't show up. But all the other Anaku got together and they're like, okay, maybe these Serpentines got something going on. They said that they can fix this.
Let's expand upon the story here for a second. You know why the ones in the south didn't show up?
I wanted to know, yeah.
Because they talked to the king. They talked to the king. They were the first ones. They saw an Aeon approach, and instead of coming to conflict like they should have, because obviously mankind, Anaku, Aeons, Titans, they should be they found the ones in the south, who at this point, you see the vast stretch of forest that isn't there. That must have been from the destruction wrought by that war. It must have changed the landscape in some way.
Yep.
And they see them, and these guys are just sitting in the woods, and they're like, we're fucked. We're all alone. We are on our last legs. This is the last holdout. Help is not coming. And they see an Aeon with his army of spirits approaching, and he says, I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to hurt you. That's not my goal. These things that I'm creating, at this point it would be the bearded pygmy, are not made for war.
No, yeah.
And that's why when you see, if the keepers were to see the bearded pygmy and then the extension mankind as made by the king, they would look at it and be perplexed because you can see these hard line tendencies in the Anaku and the Dubois humans, whatever we'll call them.
Whatever the fuck they will, yeah.
Or the Aeonic humans. But then you see these guys, and they're Aeonic humans, but they don't have those hardline tendencies. They seem to have a heavy variable in them. They seem to be balanced. Mm-hmm. That one of them, left to their own devices, will build a house, raise a family, see something it doesn't understand, go, fuck it.
Yeah.
And then, will just continue to exist, and almost pointlessly, but that's kind of what balance is it doesn't need to, or it doesn't feel the need to do anything. It does things in a wanton, if we're talking about Eastern philosophy, the flow state, not thinking about what you're doing, just doing something. Mm-hmm. They're just doing stuff. And that's where these Anaku, who kind of segregated themselves from the Titans in their war, and this Aeon, who kind of separated himself from the Aeons in their war, would have come together and said, this thing needs to keep learning how to be itself. This thing is what will put it to rest. It reacts to pressure, but it doesn't create it.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about the bearded pygmy at this point?
Yes. And obviously the bearded pygmy at some point gets...
He hides them away because the other Aeon we're finding out. So at that point in history, the Forgotten King isn't completely war craven, okay? He's just like, hey man, we had to do this to the Titans. It is what it is. I can't go into, I'm not going to go into vivid detail. I'm not here to fuck with you. As much as you might think I am. I'm sorry that you thought they were your gods, but they weren't. And if anything, they fucked things up a little bit here. So in some ways, the Aeon in the early days thought they were coming to fix, we got to stop this whole world thing and Anaku, this is bad. But because of being in this world, it has allowed, their minds have gone in a way where it's like, well, we need to make things too because making sense of reality, and maybe they were onto something. Maybe there was a little bit of remorse. It's really hard to say at that point. It's too early for my thoughts. But when they were doing that, I would say at that point, Dulag wasn't this evil thing yet. That's what he was bred into. So you think of that king, that he was a righteous king, but sometimes he's like, there was a point where I had to murder a bunch of people. That's just what it is, because If I'm going to be the king, you got to get people under your foot. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to murder them all. There's a point where he had to snap like that. But when he met those Anaku down the south, I would say maybe they probably even like nursed him in some sense of the word. Some sort of spiritual nursing and all that. Because that's the point where he had a wife that he created for himself. And he was softening. You know what I mean? And that's where like Plotus and Aeek Baeovak were sensing his weakness, and they were going to try to betray him. Malik and Revan kind of thing. Like, I'm going to betray him because like at that point, you know, like it was my job, you know, I have to do this.
He's not strong enough to do what needs to be done.
No, he's too focused on his little creations.
And he's at the point where he's like, maybe this doesn't have to end in one or the other's destruction. Maybe we can find some balance.
That's what he was trying, yeah. Now, Aeek Baeovak, Plotus, and the other ones, they use their beings that they created for their own purposes. My little slaves. The Forgotten King, Dulag, at first did not create them for his purpose. He created them for their own because of this balance. Now, in time, sadly, he does need them to free him. So in some sense, eventually he will need his people to help him. That's way fucking later. But the reasoning that the southern Anaku wouldn't go to this grand meeting of all these Anaku gather. Now the Anaku of Etrovia, Lyria, northern Anaku, the ones that are Dubois, maybe some outside Anaku, all got together to discuss the topic of the Serpentine Order. Okay, what's happening, Serpentine Order? You called us here for a reason. They're like, yes, okay. Let me tell you what's going to happen. We have been doing things. We've been doing experiments. They're very high-tech and very scientific, these Anaku and the Serpentines. Like, we have been doing some tests on mankind. I know that's probably not ethical, but these are unethical times. There's a darkness growing. We can feel it now. And so they basically say, listen, if we use the blood of mankind and mix it with this powder that was discovered by the, I don't remember the name of those, the Celtic race, I forgot what they're called. We think we can find a way, because if mankind has taken our Dume, that means it's within their blood. So within their blood is just something that can keep us going until we can figure it out. It's just like a vaccine. It's just here to help us going. It's a little bit immoral because we have to use these monarchs and the Adrana. It's kind of a fucky situation, but this is the best we got. And I'm sure that a lot of the Anaku were like, that's like, could start a war. That's not good. And so they thought they pushed the Serpentine aside. Then the Serpentine eventually were like, well, we're just going to continue this anyway. And Lyria's like, if you be quiet about it, I'll let you do it. But if they find out, I'm not going to back you. Don't worry. We'll make sure this. Because they're trying to figure out the problem with the Forgotten King, get him out of the realm. And like, well, if we kill him, you already know their story, what they're trying to do.
Yep.
But that's how I was trying to justify Serpentine saying they're not really evil. They're just doing a scientific method of how the fuck can we not die? How the fuck can we fix this problem? We got to toe the line. We got to go into some darkness to fucking pull it out. Now, at the same time, they're being led and guided by this strange entity from another realm. They think it's some god or something. They don't realize it's this evil thing that's even in the realm of creation that's evil, or the circle. And he's telling them, like, you need to raise up the Titan, that last Titan there that you have. You do that. That gives me a body. I can go into that body. We can do this. And I will free you. He's lying to them. Quinlan's saying that meeting is like, listen, like, there's a fucking problem. You don't see that maybe this is bad, that we're listening to this being, and he doesn't exactly know what it is, but he knows there's something wicked going on. That's his problem. He's also feeling the guilt of, I've created the mankind problem myself.
Do you know why he likes mankind? Because when he looks at them, Anaku, up until this point, could pretty much live forever. They didn't degrade.
No.
The world was theirs. He looks at mankind, who never had that luxury, and he sees... It took Anaku thousands of years to build towns.
Yeah.
Mankind figures it out in 10.
Yeah.
Anaku have these great things of art they've built. They've carved things into mountains. Tens of thousands of years. He sees Tantorum sculpting sacred artwork on the face of volcanoes as they're emerging as a civilization.
Yeah.
He's repeatedly, he wants to turn on mankind, but he can't because every time he looks back at them, they've done even greater, crazier shit. And he sees and he'll watch an individual human being move through their life and he'll be like, they experience this as a gift. They experience it and they fucking love it. This isn't some constant struggle to go back to being a tree for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know they're going to die, and the majority of them at some point are just okay with that. Their world is that fulfilling that they can stop existing and be happy with what has happened. And we live in constant fear of the day we won't exist because we felt none of it has been worth it.
Yeah.
And for him, that's where he's like, maybe it really isn't ours if we get so little from it.
Yeah. Kind of like the elves with the race of man.
They admire them because for a human, everything is beautiful or terrible, everything is awesome, or it fucking sucks. And even when it fucking sucks, they see human beings practicing stoicism and asceticism, and we're just sitting like, I'm going to enjoy the fact that it sucks. And they're like, fuck are they doing that? And and for people like Quinlan, he's just sitting there going, this is the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mortality.
And he really genuinely wants it. He wants to be able to stand out on a fucking, a cliff face one day, look down, and just be blown away by the thing he sees in front of him. Because he can't do that.
No.
Because he sees trees and rocks, and all it is to him is trees and rocks. And that stupid monkey has put those rocks up in such a way that stops rain from getting on him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Whereas that human being is like, it took me 4 weeks to build this fucking house. I will destroy anything that threatens this fucking house.
Yeah.
And like, he cares that much.
No, that also can lend into the new breeding ground, if you will, of emotion and of understanding. And obviously Quinlan's like, with what's waning in my helmet, the last bit of the spirits, the synthetic consciousness, I still haven't figured it out. So when it's gone, I'm lifeless. I'll never understand good or bad. He will be lost in the void of his own mind to disappear like a couple of the Men of Stone have. Their spirits have left them. Their receiver doesn't work so much anymore. It wasn't guaranteed to work forever. It was guaranteed to work long enough for them to figure shit out. And Quinlan is the closest he can. And that might be why he holds also on to mankind, because this is the last bit of, if I can figure them out, he's keeping himself safe. Now, the idea of him keeping himself safe is kind of strange because it's like, but you were tasked here to destroy all this, just like everyone else. Why are you, just like the Aeon, just like the Titans, why are you actually continuing this? He's like, because there's something about it. Don't you miss being in the realm of like the circle where there is no questioning, it's just everything is, and it's all God's knowledge and you are just okay with it. There is no question. No, it's because I'm here and now it's just like everyone else says. Maybe the Aeon weren't so bad. Maybe there is something about finding your own destiny than just living a life in the circle. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the big story of Quinlan's like arc. He's looking for purpose instead of being a destroyer as he should be.
Well, it's probably, as a point for the Men of Stone in general, it probably causes them great confusion and distress when they see human beings deeply affected by, say, the worship of the Forgotten King in the South, or the worship of Dove in Tantorum, or any of that. They're like, we know for a fact that motherfucker is not saying anything to you. We know him personally. Why does he affect you so much? Contrasting that against their waning connection to the spirits, they're like, what are these humans doing? What crazy fucking magic is this? That religion for them is doing the thing that we are losing that we know for a fact should work for us and is not. Why does it work for them just because? And when we know it's not actually working and yet it's still somehow having a goddamn effect. Why do humans fight harder, work harder, love harder when they think they're doing it in the name of Forgotten King's name? Dulag. Why does Dulag affect them that way when we know he's trapped there? And I actually think that'll be a big moment for Quinlan when the Forgotten King finally does get back out in book 3. And when he sees him, that will be the first time he feels something.
He's gaining humanity.
Because in that moment, he knows humanity's saved. No matter what they do, humanity's saved. And he sees the Southern Anaku, and he's like, and they're saved too.
Yeah, but then there's that beautiful part of like, yeah, but you weren't here to do that. You weren't here to save humanity. In fact, you were here to do the exact opposite. What changed your mind? And that's got to be his whole story is what changed your mind kind of thing. That is his arc. Why did you stay? I want to flash back to that part that's in that thing I read. Why the Spirit said, why do you stay your hand against them? Mankind. When you had the chance to destroy them, why did you stay your hand? And I want that to, because he didn't answer. He's like, I don't know. I want that answer to be answered in book 3. The last bit of that, why did you stay your hand? And then he has the answer. He figures it out. Because they whatever. They made me feel. They made me...
I have this image in my head. That these stone men, the reason they all wear masks, a big part of it is the stone skin's part of it, but you could almost get past that. You could, explain it away as a disease or as anything. You could make people accept it. But what they can't explain is that their eyes have a glow to it. They're aeonic creation. They are beings of pure light. They have to hide that. There's certain things they can't hide about that. It'll be just a dead giveaway. And you'll see memories of Quinlan where he is just marching through the world in its primitive form, just, unclothed fucking Aeon, just walking through destroying shit. And you'll have that moment where because he's this warlike creature, he functions at speeds we can't perceive, and he'll notice these small details about the bearded pygmy or the human being, where he realizes, Anaku, for example, they leave behind. You got caught. You're fucked. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
They need to get out because they know going back they're just going to die. There's no point to that. And that's smart. But then they see human beings and the bearded pygmy who are just reckless and stupid. If you grab a young human, good to fair chance, 2 older humans, what's their connection to this young human? Why are they running back? Why is this idiot thing, this stupid monkey, throwing itself at me, knowing full well it's going to die?
Why does,
And this will just continue to eat at him until he realizes these things are intrinsically connected in a way that none of the Aeons or Titans are. That there is this weird web between them that you can't explain. And at first he was like, oh, there's a biological offspring, science here, science there. But then I realized they just create this. They just, there's some that's inherent in their brain as a chemical thing, and then they will trick their brain into doing it for members that it doesn't apply to. Why? What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because there's a way, there's rules to the universe, and he'll just notice that humans just find those rules and go, and just plug them into other things. And then they'll develop societies based around these, false rules that they themselves have made up. But then those rules become evolutionarily true, and he's just like, what the fuck is happening? He's going to realize that whatever this thing is, it's more intrinsically connected to God than he is.
Yeah.
That the Forgotten King could walk down to them, say, I'm not God, this is God. And they'd all go, but we still like you, dude.
Yeah.
Like, for them, this isn't a hardline set of reactions. This is whatever they want it to be. And that will fuck him up.
That's subjective life. Subjective viewpoints. At the same time, like a strange, I don't even want to say primal, but this kind of consciousness of togetherness. And why does the beast, this creature, protect a younger one, a little one? Why does that matter to them, that thing's alive? Why do they need to keep going? What's the point? Why do they think that it's like, if we keep, there's a disease going around, well, we got to make sure we survive it and make more of us. Like, why did that matter? In the end of the day, like, this is like an exploration of like my own questions of mankind. Why the fuck are we doing this? I have a lot of thoughts of, that's what it boils into all this, is like, why do people want to continue? If there's a virus out there and it's killing people, why not just let it in us? Who gives a fuck? It's very, it's not a good way to look at life, but that's kind of the exploration that it does have. It's finding the why to the human experience kind of thing.
Right. I see Stu texting me back. I'm sorry. I just had that thought.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if Sue doesn't check her phone or what. But yeah, no, that's
I think
that reflects very well. There's a lot of talks about nihilism now. And nihilism is a big thing. That notion that as religion becomes less popular, people realize that none of it matters. There's two kinds of nihilists. There's the doomer and the bloomer.
Yeah.
The doomer is the nihilist who is just like, fuck it, I'm just waiting to die. Tired of it all. And then there's the bloomer who's like, nothing matters, so I can do what I want, make it matter however I want. And humans tend to be bloomers.
I tend to think that I want to find the answer, kind of thing, personally. I want to seek this. I want to find this wound and discover its... So I was exploring a bit of the stuff. I did I think a couple episodes ago, I talked about it in a little bit more detail of the Force and how mankind views the Force. The Force is the untapped potential of, the consciousness of mankind, and the figurehead is philosophy, and then through that philosophy you give them justification for life and all that. So religion is essentially just, it's to keep you going. It's to keep you from saying, why does it matter? Well, God and the Holy Spirit and all that. It just gives you purpose and all that. To be a good human, that's why. Because if we're here, we might as well be nice to each other. Anyway, that's guiding the Force through philosophy. So mankind is kind of doing that with its people. Mostly that I know of in Adrana, where they're guiding mankind into an understanding, because there's going to be, they believe, a shift, because Freydin was discovered. He will save the Forgotten King. He is the first one in a long time that might be able to pass through the insanities. That's the, on that picture, those little dots, they get bigger, 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 bigger until infinity. It's the idea of, it's called the insanities, it's called the gauntlet, because it's the smallest dot is microscopic, the largest one is infinity. So it's like you pass through until you hit infinity, and from infinity you go back to tiny. It's basically an understanding of, there's the molecule. How do we know that within that molecule there isn't some sort of consciousness, life, and these little tiny beings are like us? What if we're in a molecule? You know what I mean? So it's the idea of...
It's almost easier to deal with infinity because there's something in there. You don't really have to think about it.
No.
You just gotta look around until you find it. Oh, cool. And that molecule...
That's probably where we're at. So the idea of, we're close to, the molecule is the same thing as a galaxy, which a galaxy is the exact same thing as in a universe, and whatever the fuck is beyond that. It's all just zooming out. It's the same fucking thing. I forgot what theory that's called, but it's like multiverse. I don't know. But it's a reality of just saying like, hey man, the atom might be a little universe. We don't know. So that's what that is. You pass through that understanding and it allows you into the circle. Now that's why you can leave the circle, because you're in infinity, but it's hard to enter it because only a select few humans have ever done it. Actually, none of them have ever done it. So they think that Freydin might. He has a shot. He has a clear shot of passing through this gauntlet and getting into their own creation and just finding Creator and saying, hey, okay, and Eris is actually going to do it. And what happens is, actually a couple humans have done it, I should say. As in, Eris will be the second. So you get there, and the Forgotten King wants to attach onto you. He's like, okay, I'm here. and all that. So how are we going to free you? And you basically have to fight the Forgotten King because it's a Madden thing. So when it comes to magic in the realm of creation, it's understood that all human possesses just a tinge of it. It's only the monarchs who have become the rulers of society that are able to manipulate it in some way with the ancient help of the Valanders. Valanders are sleeper agents of the Aeek Baeovak. Eventually, they're going to turn on us like the clones. But right now, they're helpful. And they help us grasp this crazy magic that was gifted to us. You know, we don't really know that it was stolen from the Inakube. Well, we do, but we think they're just overreacting. So it's like the monarchs are gifted into this idea of this consciousness of you are the people, quite literally. You are quite literally the collective consciousness of mankind. It's through you, you listen to them, but it's them that listens to you. You have to hear their voice and all that stuff. That's why they're a ruling class. If you're going to be the heads of consciousness, you might as well be the heads of state. And you must obey the people. And it's just because they are charging the battery. You know, you draw your power through all of mankind as a conduit. Well, you have to listen to them and let them charge you up. It says possibly do whatever you can. And that's where the School of the Monarchs is. The Abeco College. That's where the monarchs go. It's like Hogwarts. We're training you how to be a monarch, how to be a wizard, Harry. You know, like we're training you to use this magic. The Valanders are. And those are the people that they select when it comes to someone that has the highest metacalorian count kind of thing. Freyden had the highest metacalorian count. So we are going to bank on him. We think that he probably can do this. High hopes. Last one was Freyden and he failed. Or sorry, Odysseus. He almost did it. He got to meet the keepers, it was told. And he told us the story of the keepers. But maybe you'll do it, Freyden. And then you already know what happens to Freyden. You know, he gets killed and...
Never gets the chance.
Nope, he almost did. But he released something dark, and that's why the world's falling apart, because he was the one who released all these dark beings, then, you know, out of fear and all that, he pulled from another realm. And now it's Eris. Unknown. No, mankind doesn't know it. But the Serpentine figured it out because of, what's his name? Fuck. The Inaku. Jahir. He was the one who could sense it out. And also Martis, too. You remember, Martis works for Aeek Baeovak. He's a Valander. So that's his fucking creator. And his creator's like, Martis like, I think, so Freyden died. My whole thing I was doing is gone. But I think there was another. And then that's why Eris is important to Aeek Baeovak, where when Eris meets the Slot King, that's why he's like, hey man, I'm cool with you. Secretly, because you're going to help me. But in reality, like, I'm good with what you are. I need you, actually. He has a choice to work for the Slop King or work for the Forgotten King, or, you know, Eris is definitely the pinnacle of everyone's story. You know, the Serpentine need him to do their deed. You know, the South could have their reasons. But yeah, that goes into the modern day, but definitely consciousness is connected through mankind. That's the one thing that we have that most races don't in the world. We have this weird, like, why people all get upset at something. Why did everyone get upset at that that thing that happened to that guy? Well, that's kind of a weird thing to think about if you pretend you're not a human for a minute. We all just saw a video of a man dying, we're like, ah, and got mad. It's kind of strange when you think about it. Why did we do that? Why do we all care? Well, not all of us, but you know, some people are just afraid of that, so they pretend they don't care. But like, what is it about us that we can band together? You know, after 9/11, why did we what can make us just get together? It's weird. It's a weird concept that mankind has. Animals kind of have it, but that's primal.
Have you ever seen, this is off topic, but every time you talk about this, it makes me think about it. There's a band I listen to called Blind Guardian, and they have a song called Valhalla. The Blind Guardian's a nerd band, huge Lord of the Rings fans. You know, most of it's you know, power metal. It's fucking
yeah.
you know, it's just meant to be fantasy. But there's at one point they're playing at Bakken, I think it was, and they have a crowd, just a massive crowd, like thousands of people. And the song they're playing ends, and the whole crowd, you know, the moment clapping, everybody's cheering, and then it's almost like all at once the crowd starts singing the chorus together after the song has ended, and they just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just up there, and like the lead singer's like, I don't know what like he doesn't know like what the fuck do you do about this? Because they're just not stopping.
No, they've hit something.
And it's weird, like when you see it, like you can hear it kind of like spread out, like it starts at a point in the crowd and spreads out, but it's not like, oh, slowly everybody gets on board. It's like 7 seconds, and it's just.
There's something about that feeling that like mankind, I mean, that's all we know, that we have where it's like this kind of banding together, this kind of like shared common interest or like moment. It's a moment. It's just a moment in time. Why was it that moment was shared between us all? I fucking couldn't tell you. But, I mean, it's an interesting thing.